Well, so there's my big three are biking and running and cycling. My longest run was a marathon. I did a 26.2 last year, and my longest bike ride is 80 plus miles. So I play guitar. When I was back in high school, I picked up the guitar, and I was really into Eddie Van Halen, and he was like my idol. My favorite Van Halen song would be Panama, and I will never forget the moment when they started playing the opening chords of Panama. Every person in that stadium was on their feet with their arms as high as they could be, and it was a great moment. I mean, Phantom of the Opera is way up there. It was awesome. So I'm looking forward to Broadway coming back to life again, and maybe even seeing Hamilton or something. My dad. My dad has always been somebody that I admired. As a kid, he decided that it would be neat to read the entire Encyclopedia Britannica, which he did. As a result, my father's probably one of the most intelligent people I've ever known. If you consider that PrEP will prevent a HIV discordant couple from transmitting HIV by a rate of 96%, that's impressive. That's about as good as birth control pills. An HIV discordant couple, one HIV positive, one HIV negative, that HIV negative person on PrEP. And then if you make it even better, that HIV positive person is on treatment and they're at zero, this HIV positive, this HIV negative person will never get HIV. Back to the 1980s, the fear, imagine going through COVID and watching people die around you and having the official federal response be silence. And the official societal response was to condemn those who were sick. So we know what COVID feels like because it's been in our recent memory. But that's exactly what gay men mostly experienced back in the 80s without looking at the myriad of social constructs that brought that epidemic squarely into the gay community. So it's really much more complicated than personal responsibility. So LGBTQ literacy in healthcare is really important. It is historically something that hasn't received a lot of attention. I went to medical school in the 90s, and LGBTQ education was given more of a cursory, overview rather than an in-depth discussion about language and definition. I think healthcare providers need to have some basic understandings of, why is healthcare different for a gay man or a lesbian woman than it is for your straight counterparts. Making sure that they get the right immunizations, making sure they have access to PrEP, making sure they have good, informed conversations about birth control and family planning. One of the things I have taken on over the past several years is trying to bring education on LGBTQ affirming issues to the healthcare community. And me with a friend do a quarterly LGBTQ educational program. And those topics are, the basic fundamentals of what we call LGBTQ 101 for healthcare providers, basic vocabulary and, things that you can do to make the healthcare space more LGBTQ affirming. Discussion on the politics of LGBTQ healthcare. And there is a rich history of, unfortunately, at times painful history that informs healthcare providers as to why it is that LGBTQ folks may not be real eager to come out because of things that they've experienced over the past several decades or half a century. And many of those survivors, those LGBTQ survivors, are now in their geriatric years. And I think healthcare providers need to have some understanding and some sympathy for what it is that they're going through, what they've experienced, and why it is that this is probably one of the strongest generations of people that we will encounter, and probably some of the most sincere and loving and caring people, they've been able to navigate a very uncaring world for a very long